does this say what I think it's saying? Is this kind of indicating that they might be admitting some sort of failure or mistake? I mean, usually when you have like the 2015 to 2019, like the dates like that, you'll have like a little rip next to it when you have like a beginning and an ending of something. Is this like some sort of way for us to kind of think, oh, we're gonna hear some big announcement soon about Disney sort of failing at Star Wars, so they're leaking out little things like this to kind of get that in our minds. And this is why they've been blaming the fandom for all this time. I don't know. Hello, everyone. I am MechaRandom42, your favorite YouTube harpy, and we're talking about some Star Wars news. This one, thanks so much, Matt Deckard, for sending this to me. Let's just get right into this. So, Disney and Lucasfilm have rushed out the Star Wars sequel trilogy too fast. Oh my god, they're admitting it. And they've in turn ruined the franchise, perhaps a little by doing so. Oh my god, I'm not used to them admitting it. When are we blaming the toxic fans? Is that the next thing? That might be the next thing. After Lucasfilm and 20th Century Fox released the first Star Wars movie back in 1977, it took another 3 years for George Lucas's sequel, The Empire Strikes Back, to hit theaters in 1980. Sure, a sequel wasn't something that was immediately planned and put in development, but even the rest of the Star Wars saga stayed true to the 3-year gap per movie. Were Star Wars being made for the first time today, then the sequel likely would have been released as soon as possible. Then, however, it was afforded a little more time that Lucas and his collaborators made the most of. The Empire Strikes Back released in 1980 and Return of the Jedi followed in 1983. It's a release template that Lucas would stick to for his much maligned Star Wars prequel trilogy. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, arrived to monumental hype in 1999, followed by Attack of the Clones in 2002, and then Revenge of the Sith in 2005, all of which released in May as well. This obviously didn't guarantee quality, but what it did was grant time. Bingo! Haven't I been saying this forever? That they rush these movies out with one draft and they're crap because of it. Because they want to turn a quick buck. Because they think, oh, they'll just buy anything that's Star Wars. Obviously didn't guarantee quality, but granted time. It was time for the filmmakers to adjust and react. Time for the fans to cool off, pause, and then get excited all over again. Disney changed that. Yeah, and we're not excited. We're still talking about them, but not in the right way. But really not. Star Wars was going nowhere fast when Disney stepped in to purchase Lucasfilm back in 2010. They paid a whopping $4 billion for the company, which looks a bargain now, so they immediately set about ensuring they would quickly recoup their Star Wars investment. The release of Star Wars The Force Awakens in 2015, an event to rival The Phantom Menace, was the revival of the Star Wars franchise on the big screen. For Disney CEO Bob Iger, Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy, and everyone else, that was just the beginning. This was a brand new era, one which would see a new Star Wars film released every year ad infinitum. Oh wow, words! It is really late recording this video, by the way. Disney had a shiny new toy and wanted to play with it constantly. It just so happened that the toy was one of the biggest movie franchises and multimedia brands ever created. Even the Mouse House knew releasing 3 Star Wars saga episodes in 3 years would be a stretch. And so the anthologies were born, spin-off movies that could fill in story gaps, but more importantly, fill in the schedule gaps between the sequel trilogy. For a while, this looked to work, with Rogue One, a Star Wars story being a big success. Had things gone to plan, perhaps the proposed Obi-Wan Kenobi and Boba Fett spin-offs would still be on the way. The poor performance of Solo, a Star Wars story, however, shows the Star Wars spin-offs are also part of that too much too soon approach. I love this. Disney rushed and ruined Star Wars. Well, it's in quotations, though. Oh, you can't just admit it. You can't just admit it. Oh, man. Go to page 2. Let's go to page 2. When Star Wars The Force Awakens released in 2015, it was a huge statement that Star Wars was back. What's more, it was backed up by taking over $2 billion at the worldwide box office, breaking records in the process. At that point, Star Wars The Last Jedi was already in development, with a release date of May 26, 2017 penciled in. Star Wars The Last Jedi was then pushed back to December that year, but that just made a 2-year window rather than 18 months. Bad idea. Even with the release change, it meant Rian Johnson was writing the script for Episode 8 long before The Force Awakens had been released. Well, that's why it's such a big disjointed mess. And, we've already heard some of this in a lot of other articles. This just puts it all in one. It's impossible to say what, if anything, Johnson might have done differently had he not started until The Force Awakens release. What is clear, though, is that he would have at least had some time to be reactive to it. Instead, while knowing points of the film would hit, he went off and did his own thing. The result was the most divisive Star Wars movie to date. Oh yeah, what do you link to? I just want to see. What do you link to? From December 17th. I'm sure we've read all these. I don't know if I did a video on it, but man, that's a great one. The Last Jedi was great, but still ruined the Star Wars fandom. It wasn't great. No, it wasn't. It wasn't great. Man. If anything, Johnson might have done differently had he not started until The Force Awakens release. What is clear, though, is that it would have had some time to be received. Yeah. The result was the most divisive Star Wars movie to date. Johnson himself has admitted it was challenging to write The Last Jedi while The Force Awakens was still being finished. After The Last Jedi and Solo: A Star Wars Story, Lucasfilm is looking to course correct with Star Wars Episode 9. Had they slowed down in the first place, though that wouldn't be necessary. Yeah, you think maybe if you had, written another draft of your script, things would have been better. Waited until the other movie was released before you started shooting the sequel. I mean, little things. Don't put your horse before the cart, as they say, right? Johnson's film would have still been his, no doubt, but there would have been at least some time to adapt after seeing what did or didn't work in The Force Awakens. Likewise, Star Wars Episode 9, which has been through 2 directors and multiple scripts by various writers, would have been better off, even with more breathing space. Yes. See, now you're rushing this, and I think this article might be some sort of a prerequisite sort of damage control. We might start hearing... Don't quote me on this, but it really seems to me like they release these little articles right as they're about to release some big news, like we're pushing back the release date. They want to soften the blow. They want to trickle little things out just to see how fans might receive it. And I think this might be a really, really good idea. Please push the movie back. Again, this would allow J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio more time to figure out their story, but also give the fandom a greater chance to heal and get excited for the final Skywalker saga installment. There's a sense people have grown a little tired of Star Wars, which is understandable, even beyond the divisions. After 6 movies released in 28 years, and then nothing for a decade, there have been 4 movies since 2015, with a 5th on the way. Not even the Millennium Falcon moves that fast. To put this into perspective, the entire Star Wars sequel trilogy, including 2 spin-off movies, will have been released in the same span of time between Spectre and Bond 25. How Disney's push ruined Star Wars. Ooh, they ruined Star Wars. See, they're not putting in quotes anymore. They're like kind of spoon feeding the disappointment to the normie fans who love The Last Jedi, maybe. And I'm waiting for them to blame the fans again, because they usually do. This is the year Star Wars Episode 9 releases and the Skywalker saga ends. It should be the most exciting time to be a Star Wars fan, so why isn't it? Because they keep insulting us and ruining these movies and lying to our faces and, telling us that we're toxic man babies and we're basement dwellers and we're incels and this and that and the other. That's why. No, it's not rocket science, not brain surgery. The Last Jedi, or rather the response to it, takes a lot of the blame. The Last Jedi for sure. Johnson's bold movie divided fans. Yes, it did. They're finally admitting it. With a debate that still hasn't gone away since its release. Solo, A Star Wars Story, poured further fuel on the flames. It tanked at the box office and was seen by its critics as unnecessary and just another example of how Disney was ruining Star Wars. If anything has ruined Star Wars, though, is Disney's major push to release a new film every year and a saga installment every 2 years. It's the rush that helped lead the backlash towards The Last Jedi, which came too soon after the much safer Force Awakens. It's the same rush that led to such a truncated marketing campaign for Solo, A Star Wars Story, and in turn, that movie bombing at the box office. The same mistakes led to Ron Howard having to reshoot almost the entire movie in just a few months. Rushing saw Colin Trevorrow being hired without much beyond his box office grosses to suggest he was the right choice. Ooh, who hired him? Gee, who hired him? Was it Kathleen Kennedy, maybe? Is she responsible? Are you trying to say that Kathleen Kennedy is responsible for this? Because I think she might be. It's what then led him to being among the many directors to be fired as well. All throughout the Star Wars sequel trilogy and spin-offs for that matter, there are decisions at every turn that can be traced back to Disney's insistence on pushing out a Star Wars movie every year. It might have just been one movie a year instead of 2 or 3, but they almost tried to treat it the same as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. For Star Wars, that just doesn't work. No, it doesn't. Instead of one of the biggest and greatest franchises thriving, the best thing that can happen now is that after Star Wars Episode 9, the Star Wars franchise goes away for a bit. Wow, when the media is just calling him out on this, man. The media is actually calling him out. It's time to rest, regroup, and plot a new path forward. That goes for both the fandom and the movies themselves. Disney needs to let Star Wars breathe. Just breathe. And then they can start to get it right again. Wow. So what's this saying? Don't do Rian Johnson's trilogy? Dude, this I'm kind of shocked about how I'm like seriously kind of shocked about how much they're admitting that they're really, really screwing up. I mean, usually you don't get them admitting that they're screwing up this bad. And when you get these companies like Screen Rant, I think Screen Rant's probably owned by one of the studios, probably, or some big media conglomerate. I know a lot of these are like comicbook.com, I think, is owned by CBS. I think Screen Rant was owned by CBS. It was one of them. I wonder if they're just like, since it's Screen Rant, who I think are owned by CBS, correct me if I'm wrong, if they're just like taking shots at Star Wars now, I wonder if maybe sometimes when we get these big articles like this, it is a way of them kind of testing the waters and kind of, it's kind of like instead of giving you a spoonful of medicine, they give you like, they stick it in applesauce first to kind of dilute it or whatever, or that type of thing where they're just kind of spoon feeding just a little bit of disappointment out there to see what the reaction is, just to kind of get in there that like I said, a lot of the quote unquote normies, a lot of the less invested in the entertainment industry sort of people will hear these headlines and they'll be like, oh, Star Wars needs room to breathe. Maybe Star Wars is going to take some time off. And then in a few days or in a week or so, they'll probably release an article saying, you know, Star Wars is pushing back its release date or something, or canceling Rian Johnson's trilogy or something like that. And we've heard all these other little stories. We've been hearing this a few times where they're just kind of giving Star Wars a chance to breathe, possibly putting Rian Johnson's movie trilogy on their streaming service instead of theatrically. All this stuff. We keep hearing these little kind of setbacks and pushbacks and things. I wouldn't be surprised, you know, they do that so that normal people will say, oh yeah, it is time for Star Wars to take a break. That's a good thing. You know, I would not be surprised if we hear something like that very soon. I'm also pretty shocked that they're just admitting it. Like these news companies usually love to just throw the fans under the bus. I'm really surprised they didn't do that this time. They didn't take the opportunity to say, oh, it's the toxic fans that are responsible for the failure. And they're actually growing up and admitting maybe Disney's to blame. Maybe it's Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger. Maybe they're just hiring crappy directors and they're rushing these bad stories. What do you guys think? It's kind of interesting. What is your interpretation of this article? Did I miss anything? Did you guys kind of hear it differently? Do you kind of hear them blaming us? Because I didn't really think that so much. But the other video that's coming soon, or might be released earlier. No, I think I'll put that one after this. That's another one where people do get go and insult fans. So maybe I'm just a little a little easy to not jump the gun on that. And hello, cat. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I am MechaRandom42, and I will see you guys on the next video or live stream. Bye! Thanks for watching! If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button, and if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye!